This week on the Backup Wrap-Up, we cover the world of security monitoring and response. We talk about SIEM, SOAR, and XDR tools, what they are, how each plays a role in your security posture. We also talk about a scalable SIEM solution called SeaMonster that does all three. It was built by a red team to help blue teams. Our guest and expert this week is Des Rock of SeaMonster, and she has some definite opinions on this market that I think you'll find very useful. I know we usually talk about backup and recovery here, but this popular episode from last year will definitely help you to begin that conversation that you've been wanting to have with the security team. If you're not familiar with me, I'm W. Curtis Preston, aka Mr. Backup, and I've been passionate about backup, recovery, DR for over 30 years. Ever since I lost data and I had no backups of it, I had to tell my boss we couldn't restore the database. I don't want that to happen to you, and that's why I do this. On this podcast, we turn unappreciated backup admins into cyber recovery heroes. This is the Backup Wrap-Up. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, W. Curtis Preston, aka Mr. Backup, and I have with me my senior HDMI consultant, Prasanna Malianti. How's it going, Prasanna?
I'm good, Curtis. By the way, my bill is in the mail, or invoice is in the mail. So,
because once again, you ended up having a fount of knowledge about a random technical topic that ended up being very useful. I mean, the fact that you just were like, oh no, I think that's the HDMI 1.7 spec that came out in 2009 or whatever. And you're like, and then so basically, yeah. So I have a new Apple TV, and meaning the little box, and I was trying to connect it to my 2009 plasma television, and it uses HDMI. What's it called? HDMI CC?
HDMI CC. Yep.
Yeah, to control the power off and power on, and it wasn't working for me. And I was just talking to Prasanna about that. And then once again, you were like, "Oh, well, if you check the setting and such, whatchamacallit," and you solved my problem.
Yeah, and I solved your problem that Apple support couldn't even solve for you.
Yeah, Apple support was worthless. And this is all just a process of getting towards my new big giant TV that will at some point arrive. I'm just waiting for that moment to buy the big giant TV.
Yeah.
But I bought the soundbar first, so I have this old TV.
And was your wife happy?
My wife was so happy that she can turn the television off. You know, I mean, it was such a burden for her to have to get up and turn on the TV when she first starts watching television.
And I think just to clarify, I think turning off the TV worked. It was just turning on,
which is what made it so confusing. Off worked, but on did not. And but now they both work, and my wife can watch television without,
cursing your name.
Yeah, exactly.
Being like, Curtis, why do you keep breaking things in the house?
She will give you credit for it, and I will get no credit. But such is life. So let's move on to our guest. I found her background fascinating. She has degrees in both business and law, and she finished her MBA while actually running the company that we're talking about today, which is SeaMonster. That's SIEM Monster, an affordable security monitoring software solution. She's now their CEO, and you can find her on Twitter as Des Traction. So that's DEZ Traction. Welcome to the pod, Des Rock.
Thank you for having me, guys.
So, you've been all over the globe, and you are now currently, I think, just a few miles where I lived for a while. Where exactly? You're in Delaware.
I am. Just give me a minute. I want to pronounce it like the locals. No.
Are you in Newark?
Newark?
It's
Newark, exactly where
Newark.
I am.
Yeah, so that's actually where I got my start in backups back in 1993. I was fresh out of the Navy. The Navy had sent me to Philadelphia, so my ship was in dry dock up there in Philadelphia. And so I got out and immediately went into backups because it was, like many people, it was the job I could get. No one wakes up, no one dreams of being a backup person.
Hey,
right?
don't shatter people's hopes. I'm just saying, Curtis. Maybe
if you want to be a backup person, there is demand. Trust me. There's just not a line. But yeah, I got my start there on Christiana Road. That was where Bank of America was. I have a daughter who's now 28 who was born on Christiana Road at Christiana Hospital. So I'm feeling very close to you right now, even though you're all the way on the other side of the country.
That's lovely to hear because I know you're in California.
Yes,
correct?
Absolutely. The complete opposite corner of the country. Now, clearly, based on how I'm hearing you speak, you were raised in a different part, probably a different hemisphere, I'm guessing.
Do you want to take a guess?
This is Curtis' favorite thing. Yeah.
It's not fair because I looked at your LinkedIn page and I knew that you went to Victoria. So that's not fair. But I would have gotten it either way. I definitely, my favorite is trying to, within a few phrases, trying to distinguish whether or not I'm talking to a Kiwi or an Aussie.
Aussie. So my accent is not the one that the Americans are used to, and I can drop it down to what you guys would. Most people think I'm from England when I come to the US, right? Unless I start talking a bit like this,
there you
and
go.
then they'll really then it's really
exactly
big, right.
Exactly.
And so what's really hard to fathom for most Americans, and I've gone there, is that accents can differ in a country. Well, it's remarkably.
It shouldn't surprise them. I mean, we have like 20 in this country. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, and what's more amazing to me is how much accents can vary in England, right?
Yes,
this
just going to
tiny little country, and you have a different accent between North and South London, right? And it's just, and then you have accents vary based on class, right? On education and all of that, right?
Exactly right.
So yeah,
that's exactly right.
I enjoy trying to.
But the same can be said in New York, right? I mean, a New York accent depends on how you could tell literally whereabouts they're from because of that, and that's just one area.
That is true.
So it's just the inability to apply the exact same rule to other countries.
I don't know what to say. America. But you're here now. So you actually live in Dallas. The company is headquartered in Delaware. I'm seeing New York also. How does New York figure into it?
So we were in New York pre-pandemic, where the headquarters, and I used to be. I've transferred from New York. I used to live in New York as well, and New York is where we went through Techstars in 2018 as well. So that's why we have a presence or had a presence in New York. I'm about to pull out of New York and stick to Dallas.
Yeah, nice. All right. Well, I've been in all those places. I love all those places. Let's talk about. By the way, Dallas clearly wins from a barbecue perspective.
Right. Yes. Well, you don't have to ask for their opinion. They'll let you know, right?
Yeah. Although of the three cities, they win. Although if I get to choose my Texas cities based on barbecue, Dallas wouldn't be it. Sorry, folks. Sorry, Dallas folks. I'm a bit of a Austin barbecue fan, but anyway,
I was going to say,
I've had great barbecue in Dallas. My favorite was at Terry Black's. But anyway, we could
that's exactly what I've heard as well.
We could easily have an entire podcast about barbecue,
but we're not.
Yes, but we're not. Though, that's not why we're here to talk. So, did you see the way he's rating me in, Des? So let's go back to 2016 when you got this idea to start this new company. What problem did you see that you were trying to solve?
Well, at the time, we were custodian with a K, and we were professional hackers. So we were pen testers working all over the world, a small, elite, bespoke group with clients all over the world. One of our Australian clients, BlueScope Steel, fourth largest steel manufacturing in the world, had some issues with some ransomware. I know that's a topic that you guys want to touch on, but had some issues with that. And instead of we would be testing them every year for their compliance, for penetration testing. So they actually asked us, well, are there no tools for this? Is there no way that we can support or protect our data? And we're red team, right? So we said, I don't know, let me have a look.
You're like, we don't do that. We don't do protect. We do attack.
We don't do that. We know how to get in, and we get in real, we know that. We know how to penetrate very well, right? There isn't a area, and that's one of the matters of pride. There isn't a customer, a location, a challenge that we have not risen to, by the way, right? So that's a badge of honor that we wear. So these clients, they asked for software to be blue team, right? Protect. And to which we said, let's have a look. And the one name at that time that came up was Splunk. They can handle really big data, and they can do this. And so we said, you wouldn't believe this because Splunk is now. We said, we're happy to let's introduce you to Splunk, right? So we did, and Splunk gave them a quote.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it was at that point, to cut a story short, it was at that point that BlueScope said to us, is there no way that we could perhaps solve this any other way? And we said, you know what, let's have a look at some open source tools, right? And so the need was affordable security for big data. And that was the field in which we went into. And at the time, we went with open source tools, right? And we patched them to, we basically stitched them up. We made, put a cover on it, made it easier to use, made it easier to roll out. And that's how SIEM-Monster started. And SIEM-Monster was always, we thought at the time, an annex to what we already do. I mean, we were pen testers, we're hackers. We thought this is just this cute little project that was happening on the side, one-off. Well, what started like a very small snowball got bigger and bigger. The Australian government, including AusCyber, backed us to come to San Francisco to RSA, which we were now nominated Product of the Year back then as well. So we started to track momentum. We saw that then that's where we saw further need. So this wasn't just a one-off. There really is a need for big data to be secured down at a far more affordable price, right? Because we vehemently believe that security should not be gatekept by price, right? So that's a fundamental. That's, by the way, that's harks back to the days of when we were hackers as well, because we participated in the DEF CON culture way back when as well. So we were always giving back to community and feeling this way. So that hasn't changed. So that is the origin story of SIEM-Monster.
So just a quick question. I know you mentioned a couple times big data. So did you feel that in the big data space, there weren't any tools available that were simple? There weren't tools available that were affordable, or all the above?
If we go back to the origin story, the original thing was it wasn't affordable, right? By the way, the SIEM space was not as crowded as what it is now, right? So it's quite different now, and I know a lot of people are doing a lot of things, and it's really great to see that people are giving Splunk a run for their money. But I don't know how many people are attacking the big data spaces. There's a lot that will go small, medium. And the other thing that a lot of people are doing, if you know this space really well, is they will charge by node or by, they will charge by endpoint. And when you do that, you are asking your security operators to pick and choose what they want to cover. Now, that's vehemently against our belief system too, because if you do not put locks on all your doors, then your house is not secured. It's as simple as that, right? So we thought, well, that's a design flaw. Again, this is red team thinking about blue, right? Because we know how to get in. So if you leave a door open, we already know that we're going to, that's the best way to get in. So if you're not covering all your endpoints, then your system is not secure, period, end of story, right there. That's why we decided big data is where where we need to aim for, right? And it doesn't mean big data, big organizations. It just means any data, all encompassing.
So interesting. So I heard you say two things that to me sound like they conflict, and they probably don't. So I just need you to help me understand. One was you said that you agree with me that you need to protect everything, right? If you're not protecting everything, and then it sounds like you have a solution that's aimed specifically at big data. So does that mean there's other parts of the organization that you're not protecting?
No, what I'm trying to say is that our solution is scalable.
Okay.
Right? And that's part of the story of our success. We're scalable. So it doesn't matter what you throw at us. We will put a circle around your entire organization. And if you grow, we grow with you. It's as simple as that. And without hesitation. And no one can do the EPS that we do, like the events per second, the challenges that requires. We excel at that. So when we started, what started off was helping one client, let's face it, helping one client, then started to become how do we, and it was always with the red team vision, right? We need to protect everything, clearly, right? We all agree in that. If you're not protecting everything, you're not protecting the entire organization. So if that's the case, then how do we do that, but do it really fast as well? Because you do not want to slow the network down as well. You see how it's all hand in hand. And it all comes down to, again, the way we do things because of who we are. Right. And so that's why big data and all encompassing.
So just pushing back on what Curtis had said, right? I think probably, Curtis, what you were confused about was probably the big data word, right? And phrase, right? I think it's really like Des, like you had said, right? You scale depending on if you're a small shop and growing or if you're a big shop, right? It's a single solution that you could use that scales as you grow. Versus a lot, I'm guessing in this space, there's a lot of people where it's hey, if you have a small solution, you're probably not going to they won't use the exact same implementation because either it's too expensive to deploy your enterprise wide. And we see this in other software stacks as well, right? You have an enterprise wide solution, which is more complex and has all the bells and whistles, but sort of a small medium company, it's too complex because they may not have the dedicated IT resources to use that. And then you have the opposite problem where if you have a solution for small, medium businesses, when you get to enterprise, it doesn't quite meet the scale and the security requirements and others.
You have hit the nail right on the head there. So we are a solution that can be used by small, medium businesses and can scale all the way up to enterprise without a blink of an eye. Immediately, you don't have to do anything. It just does it. So that's part of the technology that we've built in. And by the way, if you're small, medium, you actually get the benefit of enterprise-grade security. So there's that too.
I like it. Our audience is primarily data protection-focused folks who might not actually know what a SIEM solution is. So, and by the way, is that how it's generally pronounced? Because I've always said SIEM solution.
I think it's pronounced different in different countries. And when we saw it, in Australia, we saw it as SIEM, right? In fact, we didn't even know what a SIEM was. We were like, something that held your pants up. No idea. That's where we started, right? It was only later, once we named the company, SIEM Monster, right? And the way we named it, then we realized that a lot of people call it SIEM. So, and then we were stubborn about it and we started calling it SIEM, right? That's that too. SIEM stands for, it's SIEM, right? Security Information Event Management Software. It's another way of saying monitoring software that SOCs will use, for example, right? Or any security analyst will use. So it's to give you a God view of your entire organization and the events that happen in there. Now, there is a lot of things, and the definition of SIEM is a really good one because there's a lot of confusion out there. People think that a searchable database is a SIEM. It's not. So you need to add some context around to it. I know Simon's laughing because I think he knows, right? So, right? So a SIEM ought to have some enrichment into as well. And that happens when, with recognition that this needs to be an event. And then, of course, we have certain factors like SOAR capabilities and XDR capabilities, which is the newest version of SOAR, let's say. And so SOAR, and I'm going to give a very basic analogy here, is when we have a rule set apply to events that always happen. And I like to use the logging, like putting in the wrong password over and over again. Right? So when that happens, or someone logs in, like you guys are a Delaware-based company, and you're all in Delaware, and yet somebody in a different country is starting to log in, it's flagged from a location, right? So things like that you would say, these, as a rule set, this is something that I need to know about, so it needs to turn into an event to alert me for, right? So you can write rules about that, and that's called SOAR, right? That's SOAR. So then the next iteration of that in the industry is called XDR. And what XDR does is a lot of automation of that. So then it not only picks out the events, it tells you what's happening. It actually tells you that this is something that you need to do, and sometimes can shut it down as well. And I do have a story about that when a ransomware tried to get into one of our clients, a large hospital, and the XDR component literally shut it down before anyone could do anything, before it was infiltrated and saved that company. Yeah.
So you threw out a couple of acronyms there, and we always ask our guests to spell out the acronyms that they use. So what SOAR and XDR?
Certainly. SOAR is Security Orchestrated Automation and Response. So as I mentioned, it automates and responds. So it'll give you, it'll actually run a script and then give you a response as an alert on your Slack, email, however you like to have it. So something has been done and alerted. Certainly helps your SOC team or your analyst have a better idea, so they're not literally, because what usually happens with any SIEM is that events come in, you need a way to prioritize them to say what is urgent, what is not. SOAR will actually handle a lot of the very similar events that need to be actioned for you. That's what a SOAR is. XDR or EDR is an extended detection and response. So it basically builds on that. And what that is the newer technology, which again involves automation in there as well. So that will not only tell you that something has happened and alert you, but can actually take action and say, right, what I have done while you're away or before you even got to your desk, I've actually shut this down, shut that person out, and blocked that IP and done X, Y, Z.
Okay, so
does that make sense?
So if I were to summarize these three tools, the SIEM tool is the thing that notices that something bad happened. A SOAR tool will tell you that something bad happened. And an XDR EDR tool will actually respond. Like it can actually do things to stop the thing from happening. Does that sound about right?
So a SOAR will tell you true, but a SOAR will actually respond as well, because running on script, you can build custom-made scripts as well, right? So in your organization, you know your organization the way it's everyone's quite unique in that fashion. So you can't have out-of-the-box rules. You definitely need your own set of rules to match your organization. That's what a SOAR will do. The XDR or EDR will actually action to take down commonly, for example, if it's a known attack vector coming in, right, it will actually shut down that IP and say no more from here. So that is not just saying, hey, if this happens, let me know. This is like, if this happens, let me know, and also shut it down before I even get there. So it's an action, right? It's not. Before that, it was the analyst doing the action. Automating. This is now the program actioning.
Yeah. But it sounded like you said SOAR can do some actions as well. That's why I was. I'm just again help me understand. Like with the SOAR tool, the main action that I think it's doing is letting you know, right? It's sending you messages, whatever it is that you want to do.
Correct. That's the action.
That's its
action.
So
just to clarify, that's the action it's doing.
All right.
Exactly.
But then if you want to actually shut down something or block ports or whatever, that's where an XDR EDR tool comes in.
Correct. That's when you start to get into that automation side of things where it's starting to think for you. It's starting to, and that's where the AI, the exciting part of, the AI can come into it, starting to think for you, starting to get to know patterns. That's where, by the way, there'll be another iteration of this. So we have, if we can imagine, SIEM would be the core, right? Okay. The core that is protecting all of your data. SOAR would sit around that. But SOAR is kind of like version 1, let's say. And then you've got XDR, which encompasses all of SOAR. Does that make sense? So it does everything that SOAR does, but a little bit more. And I can imagine that as the future goes on, we will have another version of that, which will then include AI.
So are these 3 separate tools then, or there are tools that encompass all three aspects?
I'm certain that there are companies saying that they are three separate tools, but that's not what we think should happen. We think security should be able to do all of that. So even though, we are titled a SIEM company, we actually have SOAR and XDR capabilities, and quite quietly working on the next big
So
thing.
the answer, and at some point, Prasanna, I'll let you speak, but you're the first person I've had that's really been able to sort of lay all this out for me. So there probably are SIEM tools, SOAR tools, XDR tools, individual products that I can buy. There are probably hundreds of
Correct.
them.
Yes.
But there are maybe a smaller
Correct.
set of companies that, like yours, that can do all three functions.
We'll do all of them.
Okay.
Correct. And even smaller that can handle the data volume that we can.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
You may now speak, Prasanna.
Thank you, Curtis. So, Des, when you were talking earlier about sort of, okay, you need this automation with SOAR, right, to be able to figure out and alert you properly, right? I think a lot of our listeners may not necessarily realize sort of the volume of events that may come in, right? Could you talk a little bit about sort of like what you see in some maybe like small, medium businesses, right? Where they might be like, hey, I just have an IT guy. They can just manually monitor, right, all these events, and why some of these things may not work. Yeah.
Well, first of all, let's start with what is a SIEM? Remember, I said there are some people thinking that a searchable database is a SIEM because we're collecting everything, but that's just, for starters, that sounds like a nightmare, because now your SOC analysis, now your IT guy or your security guy literally has to look for things. Like that's, do you know what I'm saying? Like that's not giving any ranking. That's a searchable database. That's not a SIEM. So with a SIEM, with just a SIEM, the amount, and remember, everything is an incident. It doesn't know if it's a good incident or a bad incident. It's just an incident, okay? Everything is giving you a trigger. So we need to then assess if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Is it an event, right? So by the way, if it's an event, is it a good event? Is it a bad event? So we start ranking, right? So we start to say, okay, so when people are trying to break in, bad, super bad, right? Someone turning on the printer, it's an event. We don't need to do anything. There's no alert there. But it's still, it's an event, you're still recording it, but it's not something that needs to be actioned. These are very basic examples, but I like working with really basic analogies and then building out, right? So in that case, with their volume, you're talking about volume, even the bad ones you could have pages and pages. Now that makes it very difficult. And like small to medium businesses usually have one guy, like you're the security guy, go do it, right? So that's a lot of pressure for one guy. So you need to make it easier for them. So that's why, alerts to Slack channels, alerts to phones, because they can't be sitting there staring at a screen. Like this is not Wall Street ticker. Do you know what I mean? You cannot have that. You cannot be doing that. So you need ways to put some framework around, human flaws like blinking, right? So we need a system in which we can, first of all, rank them. And then, like I said, a SIEM was probably not enough because it depends on the volume of data coming in, not enough. So you would probably want some actionable items to say this usually happens, and when this usually happens, I want to, if that, then this, right? That's basically what SOAR is, right? So then I want these things to be done. Makes your IT security guy's life so much easier.
Yeah, and would you say that transition from just a normal SIEM to SOAR, does that happen at a certain employee count, at a certain data set size count? Like what do you, or is it basically everyone should be thinking about SOAR?
Look, the way it's going is everyone should be thinking about XDR way at the beginning. Everyone should, because I think that right now you do not need to run a SIEM, right? To run a SOC, you need highly specialized people, and that's a cost point. Like small to medium organizations cannot be doing that. So what they need is tools that will make a job easy for an IT person to say this is something that needs to be actioned. The benefit of something, and I hate shilling, but the benefit of our product is that you don't make that decision. It's there. It doesn't matter, like if you're small, if you're large, from the start, it's there. Yeah.
I like it.
It's not a choice you need to make.
And I think the worry, right? There's a lot of us that have been in IT for a minute, right? as the kids say. And the worry historically with automated things that are going to actually do things in my environment to help protect me is that they're going to trigger too often, right? That they're going to, it's the false positive
Correct.
question. And you've decided that we're under attack. And so we shut down the network or whatever it is that we've decided that we're going to do that. How do people get to that level of comfort?
So, we have professional services for that, where we actually rule out, and that's the rule sets that we write, to literally customize that stuff for your organization so you remove the false positives, right? Because you can't imagine that people are going to be able to know how to do that off the bat.
Right.
It's probably one to be left to the professionals, right, to set it up for you. Kind of like anything, almost like buying a new Apple TV and connecting it to your TV and needing a professional to come in and help you.
Yeah. As a technical person, the fact that I needed professional assistance to set up my Apple TV it was a bit insulting. Okay, here's another really important question. I'm assuming that these tools, and your tool, of course, they manifest themselves in a couple of different ways, right? How do people buy these products, put them in, and then how does your product work?
Okay, so this is a very pertinent question right now because we're about to release version 5 and we're the only SIEM product out there that'll be available on AWS Marketplace where you, if you're technical enough, you can actually do it yourself with the support portal and go for it. You don't need any help. There's no implementations. You'll have it up and running within minutes. Again, unheard of if you know about any of this, right? Unheard of. But we're here to break that. Again, we're here to make sure that security is not gatekept, right? And that's part of it. Now, if that is outside of your technical scope, then we're here to help implement and put that in for you as well. So you have two options there.
When you do talk about that second case, or even the first case, right? Is it customer or you are deploying it in their infrastructure, in their environment on servers? Is it offered as like a SaaS service that they log into, especially if you have multiple sites, so it's all managed centrally? Yeah. Like, what does that deployment model look like?
Correct. So the unique part of our product is that they all can hold tenants. So again, if say, for example, you're a small business, you're growing, and now you have different locations, so you have different, you can literally sit different tenants and have one panel of view. And your system will grow with you. This is what I mean about highly customizable and very scalable, incredibly scalable. So you could sit different tenants inside right now off the bat through AWS, and it's in the cloud, by the way. So it is a cloud performance, and we utilize the latest in AWS technology in order to make this happen as well.
So you're a service, and I like that very much. I do think that that's clearly the way IT is going. And it makes it so much simpler for a lot of people, especially SMBs. But I don't understand. So you're up in the cloud, but you need to see things, right? These events that you described. Mm-hmm. You use that term, events per second, right? EPS. So how are you able to see these things that are going on inside my environment? How do we make that connection?
So during the implementation stage, you'll be asked to input all of your data traffic into that to us. You'll actually be told to, or you could actually even have a local agent, so a virtual local agent within. And then what happens is that acts as a repository. So everything goes to that agent, and then it becomes one funnel up to the cloud. That allows for, you guys are in backup, right? That allows for two things as well. That means that if there's a disconnection anywhere, you've actually got local storage of events, which is really good for forensic and anything else. It's just good due diligence, right? And so when the connection is re-established, it will actually take all of that events back up to the cloud.
That makes a lot of sense. And then, of course, I will need someone to monitor that the service, right? Or I can hire somebody to do it.
Correct. It does depend on the skill set of your staff and your organization, what type of organization it is. If you're looking for just compliance and just let me know if someone is trying to hack in, I think you're good. Like, I think you're good. Your IT guy can do it. If your data is incredibly sensitive and you need 24/7 monitoring, then you would probably outsource that, yeah. And I suppose that it comes back to the actual value of having red team create blue team security. We think of every design element. We don't put just funnels straight up, because what happens if there's a disconnect? What happens if there's a power failure? What happens if that, like, even that needs a redundancy? That's all been thought through, right? So the redundancy isn't intended to be kept there. It's intended to just in case there is a disconnection, a power, internet, whatever, right? And these are all the things that have been thought through. So the system is secure. It's not just protecting you; the entire system is secure at all times. Yeah.
It's like bank robbers that built a bank.
Exactly right. It's just, the other thing. The other thing is like it's like having a motorcycle gang as personal protection, right? It's probably, the outlaws.
Yeah,
That's the image I'm trying to get. It's like having outlaws and going, these are going to be my security guards. And you've got the best damn security guards on you could ever get, right? Because ain't nobody's going to mess with you.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly the difference.
So do you still do the red team stuff, or is it, this is going so well that you're not doing that?
Yeah. So we always keep a foot into the red team world. We still attend DEF CON in Las Vegas every year. But unfortunately, this has overtaken everything, and this has grown from what was a kind of side act to the main event. Yes.
I like that. That's, you're clearly meeting a need. And if you're helping SMBs to have better security, I am all for it.
Des, at the beginning, you had alluded to a ransomware story that you think we might be interested in hearing about. Maybe you want to talk about what happened?
Oh, okay. So that's one of our clients who's a large hospital. Most of our clients don't want to be
totally fine.
Right?
Yeah.
So just bear with me here. And I'm in the secret keeper business. Okay, so a large hospital was infiltrated by an incident that was basically going to be an attempted ransomware, right? Malware that was attempting to lock down their system, and it was our SIEM, including the SOAR and the XDR capabilities, and the project was called Project Skynet. It's just phenomenal. Once you hear this guy's story about it, I've literally got I was so interested. I had him interviewed, right, and wanted to get his story out there. It's a brilliant, brilliant story of exactly this. It's exactly how an attempt was made and the SIEM did its job. It literally did its job. It's kind of like, are you guys fans of Harry Potter by any chance? The last movie when all of the statues come to life and finally start protecting the castle, right? So it's a phenomenal scene, right? It's like finally they sit there but they find that's exactly what happened. The scene came to life and killed the ransomware, identified it, knew what it was, shut it down before it could infiltrate. This was then passed along to management to say, this is because it's one thing to say, damn it, we've been hacked, or damn it, we've got ransomware to deal with, right? That's panic mode. But to hear, listen, they tried it, but they didn't get anywhere because this was stopped. That's a different emotional journey. You're not sure if it's like, did it happen? Did it not happen? What happened? Are we and so great story for that. So that's exactly a story that's happened because ransomware, and here's the other thing I got to tell you, all right? Just lean in, boys. Every company that's been hacked, every company that's had ransomware attacks, all of these guys have got security software too, right?
Yeah.
Just think about that.
Yeah. And every one of them that were unable to restore their data had backup software, right? and yet,
because you know what they say.
What do they say?
You know what they say. Nobody gets fired from buying a Gartner Quadrant product, right? Exactly, well known, which means security people, and I'm guessing backup people are too, are not doing their research on the technology and the advancements. They're just doing what everyone else is doing. They go to Google, what is the best thing? What is the best backup product, whatever, and going with that, not necessarily the best. So the companies out there that are being hacked, that are getting ransomware softwares, I guarantee you, they've got really, really well-known security software in place. And they're doing a phenomenal job, aren't they? Phenomenal. Absolutely brilliant.
I sense a tad bit of sarcasm there. Well, Des, you've been fascinating. You've been entertaining and very educational. I do not know as much about this space as I should, and I think I'm not alone in that. So you really helped us understand what that market does. I love this idea of a product that is, the fact that your product sort of starts with affordable as it's your leading thing. I love the idea that you said that, you're the customer that started this. They said they wanted Splunk, and then they got a quote, and they're like, right? They had sticker shock, and I do think that problem, cost, right, is a barrier for a lot of areas of technology. And I really agree with you that it should not. You shouldn't have to be rich to have decent security, right? And so I'm glad your company's there. I'm glad you're doing well. I wish upon you that you will have no time left for red team business. And so thanks a lot for coming on the pod.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And Des, just one question. If our listeners wanted to find out more information about SeaMonster, where can they go? Can they, is there a website they can hit? What should they do?
SeaMonster, spelled SIEMONSTER.com. That's our home, and that's where you can find out more about the product and get in contact with us.
I like it. I wonder if, because of the way we pronounce it in the U.S., I wonder if people call your company SIEMonster and they don't understand.
All the time. They don't understand the joke. Because remember, when we first started, we were like, we heard it as SeaMonster. Right. We were like, haha, the monster from the Blue Lagoon, So that's, aren't we clever? Pun, right? And we even had, our servers had different names. We had different code names. We all had monster names. We had the Kraken. We had Poseidon. We had so much fun coming up with all of that at the start, when we were just really starting. So the SeaMonster stuck. We had to get rid of our code names. But we still have them on Slack, and they're going to be private, and they're going to be ours. Damn it, I'm not getting rid of that.
Don't. Awesome. Keep that character. Yes. So Prasanna, thanks. Thanks. Great conversation.
As always, and thank you.
All right, and thank again to our listeners. The Backup Wrap-Up is written, recorded, and produced by me, W. Curtis Preston. If you need backup or DR consulting, content generation, or expert witness work, check out backupcentral.com. You can also find links for my O'Reilly books on the same website. Remember, this is an independent podcast, and any opinions that you hear are those of the speaker and not necessarily an employer. Thanks for listening.